if it isn't that dad across the Discord call from me. That guy.
Hey, Cole.
Welcome.
We're back. It's LCS Eve, baby.
Weird time for us. Same
Weird time
dads, different day of the week.
Weird time for LCS. I maintain. It's just getting weird. It's all weird.
I know.
It's weird all the way down.
We've settled on we like it for our personal schedules, but it still doesn't make it any less weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I apologize. We haven't done the show for a couple of days. I was traveling to Miami and then I got sick and then I had a miscommunication with Jordan, which is my fault, not his at all. So, but now we're finally back and ready to do this thing on the night before the games. Pretty interesting. Maybe we provide you with a power preview of the LCS. No, we're not.
Welcome to the Power Preview Show.
Power Preview.
Previewing every matchup across the LCS. I don't even know how other teams are doing. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know. I'll pull it up and look now.
Jordan's not watching LCS this week.
I'm not. Honestly, I'm no longer an LCS viewer. I watch 100 Thieves.
I'll say this. You will be surprised at one of the teams in the top 4.
Oh, I don't love that because I have a feeling I know who it's going to be. Jolden Jardians?
That's exactly right. The old Jard.
Old Jard. The old Jard's back. Cloud9 in second. Come on. We got to do better than this.
I know, man. Well, we are here to do better than that with this podcast. Yeah. Skylar Bennett and YouTube, what's up? Come on over to Twitch, man. It's more lively over in Twitch chat. Anyway, Goodburton says he doesn't remember the games from last week. That's great because we only vaguely do. But actually, I do think we are going to talk about them. I think we'll spend more time talking about these games than we typically do. Maybe that's news to Jordan. He's like, oh, are we doing that? But I think it'll make sense once we jump into it. Yeah, we went 1-1. Let's talk about it. First off,
Dignitas beat Evil Geniuses.
We should just do a live reaction. Like Jordan sees the results of LCS weekend live segment.
Oh my gosh.
We should just do this. We should just do this.
Just get that one out. Oh boy. Ooh.
All right.
Easy. Hang in there, guys. Okay.
All right. Okay, let's talk about 100 Thieves games though. And let me say, I apologize because I am still sick, so you'll probably hear me coughing. I will do my best to keep that off the stream. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's gross, but
we thank you for showing up anyway, Cole.
Yeah. I could not go another day without seeing you guys. So
true.
And with that, let me mute and cough really quick.
Yep. I'll fill. I did
on the audio pod. That cough will probably go through. Anyway, FlyQuest. FlyQuest. Jordan, give me the 10-second blurb about FlyQuest game this past Thursday.
Cole, have you ever played a game of League of Legends where your team told you that you single-handedly lost it for them?
Yes.
So is Bjergsen.
Boom. The end. That was really great. That was really great.
Thank you.
Now, what are we talking about? Obviously, we're talking about the Annie ult.
The Annie ult.
Annie ult. Oh, Annie ult. He almost did a really, really good thing. By the way, do you think anybody's going to know that song that watches the podcast? I don't think so.
I hope so. Come on. Chat, come through for Cole, please.
Yeah, he almost did a really, really good
used
thing.
That as their opener music.
We should have. It didn't occur to me until now. He was like, how many units? A unit. What is the measurement of a unit in League of Legends again?
It's the number of pixels in Teemo's hat. I don't know. It's something stupid. It's like that's a standard unit. It's like a Teemo mushroom or something. 1/4 of a Teemo.
1/4 of a Teemo. Yes. So he was about 1/8 of a Teemo away from hitting 2 people with the Annie ult and probably starting to snowball. Because hey, guess what? We were in position to do okay. I'm not going to say we were in position to win, because who knows? FlyQuest has this habit of making you sorry that you made a mistake. And so if you don't play pretty perfectly, they're usually going to beat you.
Yep.
But the anti-ult just came in between, like, just so close. It whiffed completely though, and at a key time, we lost a big team fight.
I'll go further even, Cole. I'll say, I think if he hits even one, I think if he hits the Swain, I think we win both that fight, and there's a good chance we win the game. Because the Swain was getting bodied throughout that entire match up to that point.
We were doing that. We focused the Swain. It was actually very smart, I thought. Definitely focused the Swain and prevented him from like taking over early. This is what happened though. Like, it's interesting because we had kind of had what you would think to be a significant lead. We were up by like 6 kills or something. I think we were up a couple Drakes. And like the gold was like even, or we were behind. That's how good FlyQuest has been. You know what I mean? And like, honestly, we had it. I know at one point it was 3 to 9 kills. So we should theoretically have, what is that, 1,800 gold difference just off of kills. And we were still behind them in gold. You know what I mean? Like, that's what FlyQuest is like these days. And so, I still think we were like in a good position, and especially, if you're stacking Drakes and stuff, obviously that's going to pay off if you're able to convert it, and that's worth a lot of gold.
We ended up with the soul, if I remember right.
Yes, but it was like a little too late. They were a little too gone.
I failed to mention Prince in my analysis there.
Yeah, so
there's a chance that even if we continue to win every fight, Prince at some point just wins the game. I think that's an entirely realistic possibility.
The funny thing, I think his stat line was like exactly the same last time we played. He finished this game like 14-0-1.
That's what he had last time we played?
I would not be surprised. In fact, I will look it up. Because it was a brutal game from him. He's pretty dang good, isn't he?
Yeah, man, he is. And it's kind of crazy because it felt for a while like we were actually keeping him in check. And this is where, this is the extent of what I will offer as analysis. I think the reason it felt like we were keeping in check for as long as we did is because we had done an effective job at contain the Swain, Cole, contain the Swain. And we did it. And we did it through blowing him up, stun locking him, and just focusing him down. And that was, it worked really well. We took advantage of him in lane. I think it was a good game plan. And I think that when the Swain isn't able to do his infinite ult mode, the Zeri has a much harder time of entering Free Fire full stack ultimate mode. Those two together are the worst. You just can't win that team fight. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why it felt like when we saw the AN ult, the game turned, and like Swain was no longer contained, and Zeri just started accumulating kills, and never stopped.
Yes, and so Zeri finished up 14-0-1. Prince against us last match on the Kaisa was 11-1-9.
Pathetic showing, really.
Yeah. So
yeah, he'll hope to forget that outing.
Yeah. What a terrible experience. But at least it was an improvement from last time. That's like, but it's kind of like an empty comfort, right? Because we're not playing really any differently, right? It's just like that's how things shook out this time. It's like we're more coordinated, maybe marginally with what we did early, but we still managed to lose it because we made 1 or 2 mistakes. Look, I think it was after the whiffed and we lost a fight at Baron. We gave over 3 kills and Baron and multiple turrets. It was like went from even gold to like 4.5K behind in one play. Yeah. And it's like maybe it makes sense that it feels like you're playing an LCK team. But you just get punished in that way, and that's kind of what happened. It was like, hey, big mistake, now the game's done. Is like the Whift ult and the Baron fight. There was nothing else to be done at that point.
Right. Those are the margins. They're that slim against Fly. And I think a big part of it's because of how good Prince is, you know?
Yeah, he's super good. He's
just a crack in the door is all he needs to just bulldoze his way in and start destroying.
He's like probably got to be considered like highest skill level player ever in the LCS, right? Like he's just like unstoppable.
Yeah.
I
saw a video in my algorithm. I didn't watch it, but it was like maybe it was one of the more official. Maybe the dive. The question was, is Prince the best import of all time?
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, he is.
He probably is.
Or at least he's on track to be, for sure. There are others who've had very successful careers. Bjergsen, for example, was pretty good. Impact has been successful. So like he's not there yet. Let's not crown the Prince yet.
Oh, nice. He's as of February 25th, as of last week's games, he's 76, 10, and 45 for a 12.1 KDA.
Yeah,
he's
good. After the first round robin, he was the all-time kill leader in the LCS. Crazy how it works out that way. But yeah, I mean, he's efficient.
Yep.
Yeah, but here's I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the like getting back to my point, like I don't know if you noticed what they did in the latter half of the game, but it's basically like double lift or nothing, right? They went all in. They threw like 3 at double lift every time, just tunnel vision towards double lift.
Yep.
And hey, it worked because, like I'm saying, we're not playing any differently, and that's at this point in the split, that's kind of problematic, don't you think?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I agree, it is more of the same so far as our win condition. I like the overall look we brought. It feels different. Like the overall
go into
feels
that.
different. Annie, and I thought that was a really effective piece until it wasn't.
Until it cost us everything.
Yeah. So but
but I don't mean to say that to trivialize your point. I'm just
for me, the reason we lost this game is not because we never had a chance to win it. And there's a lot of games that you can play against teams that are this good, where it's like, look, you're really just hoping that somebody falls asleep in this match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that 1 or 2 people lose full control of their champion. Like we were taking it to them, and it was really the onus was on them to figure out how to counter it. And going back to where we started, I don't know that they so much figured that out as that we just slipped in our execution, which, not great. You don't want to do that. That's for me, that feels like such a more positive place to be than we just tried to play a lot of our comfort picks against a better team and we had no chance. So I'll take that as a way to say, hey, against even the very best team, there's no question, the best team in the LCS, we can put them in a position where their comp isn't working like they intended it to. And that feels good. The thing I'll call out that I think is actually like, it's more concerning to me than any, like, okay, you miss an Annie ult. Like, you don't need to go back to boot camp and try to refigure out how to play your game as a team. The thing that is actually more concerning to me is the failed engages. Like, when we would have Jax Wukong going in without any DPS behind them, like that is actually more indicative to me of a problem that we gotta solve, because again, like razor thin margins on an annual, a quarter of a Teemo. We'll get that one next time. Going in with your 2 tanks and no damage, you're not going to win that fight ever,
Yeah.
So for me, that feels like it's something we got to figure out.
Well, I think you have a more charitable take on the game than I do.
Perhaps.
I mean, I do think it's valid what you're saying. Like, at least we were in a position to try something. But it's just like, what worries me is that we have not figured out anything else to do. we look exact like the way we play a game, even if we have different picks, the way we end up playing the game out is the same like every single time. Let's talk about Team Liquid and then revisit that point of conversation.
Before we go there, I got to ask though.
Yeah.
Is it that we look to double lift to carry? Is that what you're primarily talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like we always try one or two early plays to get a lead. Then in the mid game, we don't do anything that makes sense while we hope double lift can just build a lead. And then late game, we hope we can stall out long enough for him to take over. That's it, like every time, We had a slightly different thing happen in the Team Liquid game, which is kind of what I want to talk about that. Now, Jordan, cast your mind back to last podcast 9 days ago.
I'll try.
When we gave our predictions. Do you remember what I predicted for the Team Liquid game?
You predicted a win.
A fat dub. And do you know, I said, I'm even going to go beyond that. I'm going to predict something else. Do you remember what I said?
I don't.
I said, I'm predicting we'll finally see the Bjergsen pop off.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And we kind of got it. It was not so like dramatic, but Victor is hardly ever dramatic. But he played Victor and did a load of damage, finished with a great stat line, and finished with a dub. Yep. All things worked out according to plan.
What's your plan?
Prophet Cole is back.
Yes. Yep.
Finally, back in the saddle, baby. But honestly, the reason why I predicted the Team Liquid win, or they'll win against Team Liquid, is because we just don't lose to them anymore, right? So I went back and looked, and I went to the start of 2021. And since then, remember now we've had we've had like 5 splits, right? Because you have spring, summer for 21, 22, and then spring for 23 of round robin play.
Right.
So since then, we have lost 2 regular season games to them, and we have lost 1 out of 4 playoff series against them. Right. It is very yeah. So we get 2. So we're yeah, right. So we're 8-2 in the normal play, and then we're 3-1 in playoffs. Serious? Do you remember when it felt like it was the other way around? I don't know.
TL.
Yeah. I don't know what has happened. No, they owned us early on, man. Yeah. And dude, I don't know what's in the water, but they just do not. What's in the liquid? They do not beat us anymore. And even with like their super rosters, like every single time, it's like, oh man, look at this crazy roster Team Liquid has.
Oh, check out how far
it does. Yeah,
he's good.
Check out this hot new top laner, Sumit.
He's like, I don't know, guys. I don't like that 100 Thieves team at all.
Yeah.
What? Why?
So if you go back and look at it, it's like, dude, it is very one-sided as of late, and I love it, and I hope it never ends.
Me too. I mean, I love beating Team Liquid. Don't get me wrong.
That doesn't mean it was easy.
No. Was it?
No, it wasn't easy. And we survived a very terrible int from Double Lift. Do you remember this around Dragon Pit?
Yeah, this was a Zeri suicide slide.
Yeah.
Right?
Like went right on top of like Harry. Like just jumped right into him through the wall and immediately was like destroyed. We survived that. We survived a deficit in the early game and clawed back behind the victor. We had the and Double Lift actually went positive. I thought Closer did pretty well. I don't think it didn't feel like Closer made like that dramatic of a difference. But what I am noticing is when you watch the comms video, it's like 80% closer. Like closer talks a lot. He talks way more than Double If, way more than Bjergsen. And basically Tenacity never says a word, which is interesting. We can talk about that later too. But so closer's making calls, so I guess good on him. Tenacity played a someday-esque game, like on the Cassante 0-2-10, roughing up a lot of people and then getting out with like low HP.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Maybe we want to see something a little stronger on Cassante, right? Don't you just wish we could get a kill? Don't you just wish we could just like have the Cassante pop off game once? It would be nice.
I think it's because they after week 1 they realized that they had to make some changes.
I still see it being more effective elsewhere. But freaking fudge. Summit Scion, which sounds like our worst nightmare, didn't end up mattering at all. In fact, they like calmly ripped him down like every time. It was like no panic, just like, all right, on the Zeri minigun or whatever. And just fried him. It was
shocking to me the amount of time we were granted to just focus on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you'd think that the other players would have realized at different points that we're using all of our cooldowns on him. But no.
Yeah. It's like we didn't get costed by targeting Summit and burning him down because they weren't like reinforcing him. Summit basically doesn't matter anymore. Like he's just not, I don't know what it is. We've talked about it before. He's just not what he used to be.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so I'm like not worried about that. And the Lucian Nami was not what you wanted to see if you're a Liquid fan. That's good. You know, it's like I thought early on in the split, it felt like Team Liquid was just like rough stretch. They're going to be back on top very soon. And I don't know what the reason is that team is not coalescing.
Yeah, I can't begin to try to explain it either. It's weird. That is not nobody put my LCS standings. I just found this website that lists the LCS standings. Nobody predicted them 8th as we end the midpoint of round robin 2.
Yeah, we'll have to check the power rankings.
Yeah, seriously.
Look at that.
That was not a common placement for them.
Maybe we need to update our power rankings.
I'm not surprised at all that the Dignitas last place is accurate.
But they did get a win. Who is that against?
Evil geniuses. They were taking the day off to meme on Twitter.
Of course.
Yeah.
So long game. We stalled out. And it's like the thing that we try to do every time just worked for us here. Because they were like Team Liquid didn't find a way to put the pressure on us in the mid game, which you'd think with like a Lucian Nami, they'd have the opportunity to do that. I know that I don't know exactly what it is. I know somewhere in there's like a Silas spike, like I think it's late mid game or something. And then Scion becomes unkillable later. None of that happened. And so I don't really feel so much like we won this game. It just like kind of happened. It just kind of shook out. I can't point to like, oh, we were able to do X and that's why we won. You know, it's just like they didn't play well is all I can say.
Yeah, I can't remember this game that well because it's been a while. But I do remember, it feels to me a little bit like their comp just never really came online. So I'm sure we had something to do with that. But I agree with you. I can't really pinpoint what it is exactly. Like the FlyQuest game, I can say our most successful period was because we were able to contain the Swain. Like I can't really pinpoint it on this one. It felt more just like TL kind of being anemic when it came to what they were trying to do.
Yeah, it's almost
which
like
I think is kind of a theme for them.
Yeah, it's almost like Harry is kind of like the only one who wants to go. You know what I mean? Harry seems super scrappy, like always going to go for it, and everybody else is kind of just like waffling. And like, so maybe that's what happens this summit. You know, he's just caught out. Like, oh, am I frontlining right now, or are we running away, or what am I doing? I don't know. Yeah. It seems like Harry's looking for plays, and no one else really does.
Sound's not a champ that's going to give you a lot of different play styles. You kind of commit to a thing, and that was
Inting Scion viable LCS.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you remember when that happened to us when we played, and we saw it for the first time in person?
Yeah, shocking. that was one of the moments where I realized I need to stop playing this game.
Yeah, that's one of the things that did it for me too. It's like, well, can't play this anymore.
Yep, unplayable.
Okay, well, so it's like odd, right? There's oddly not much to say about the Team Liquid game. So it comes down to like, all right, what have we found out about ourselves? Mm-hmm. It's really like if can you learn the most about your team by looking at the bans of the other team?
It's one way,
because that feels like our story. It's like everybody is going to ban out all bot lane choices basically, and then the zillion. That's like what people do against us, right? So they're worried about primarily a double if takeover and Bjergsen playing his unbeatable pocket pick. And then they hyper focus bot lane like every time. So it's only like the teams do not see, even in the mid lane, they don't really see Bjergsen as a threat, and they definitely don't see Tenacity as a threat. And that's why I'm saying I'm worried about stuff, because there's no reason to otherwise. There's no reason to do anything other than what they're doing, because we haven't proven that we can have Tenacity in a carry position. I don't think, have we gotten like a true standout game from him on anything? I don't know. And I don't think I mean like he plays bad every week or anything, but it's just like, you know, we haven't seen much out of him.
Yeah, Glenn brings up in Twitch chat the Fiora game. Like, he was the closest to being able to win us that game.
The Fiora game we lost? Is that what we're talking about? Like, that was FlyQuest, right? Where we got beat by like 14,000 gold or whatever. This is like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like, I get your point, Glenn, because I remember that game. He was like the only like sign of a pulse we had.
Right.
So don't think I'm like just writing off what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like, you know, we're not getting a lot out of him. It's first split, so it's okay. But aren't you, like, rookie wise, are you feeling like things are behind what you expected, or are you feeling like we're in line?
Boy, that's a good question.
Let's go Tenacity first, and then we'll talk about Busio.
Behind what I expected. I mean, my gut reaction is to say no, because it feels to me like if the bar we're setting is, do other teams place the threat of losing the game to this player more highly than the other players on the team? If that is one way to evaluate the progress.
Wait, say that again. I didn't quite track what you said. One more time.
So if you're evaluating the potency of a player based on how much other teams fear them, I would say I expect Tenacity and Busio to be in the bottom two. You know,
yeah.
You got Closer, you got Bjergsen, you got Double Lift. I expect for teams to need to focus their attention on those players more. And I think that's what we're seeing. So I think what that means for me is, I would say I don't look at the lack of fear as an indicator that we're behind schedule there. And in part because I expect that eventually these players will get to that point, right? Like, think peak Core JJ. It was literally, you're worried that Core JJ is going to beat you. And same with Aframu, right? Like, at his peak. So there have been a lot of support players with Vulcan. Like, we have lost games to Vulcan.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean it in that Vulcan is so good when he's at his best that I remember games where he has single-handedly turned the game away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think our players are there yet, specifically Tenacity and Busio. I don't think our rookies are there yet. But I'm not ready to write them off as being able to get there. Like, I could see fast forward 2 splits, and I can see a Fiora game where he wins, right? Think about the Someday Lucian game. He won that game. That game was it's like you could almost create a new win-loss column, which is just wins attributable to one player.
Yeah.
And Someday gets that one. So I can totally see the potential for that to be there in Tenacity, to be there for Busio too.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're at the point yet where I'd say it feels like it's taking too long.
Okay. That's probably fair. And I mean, that's like a wise thing. Do you remember when we were talking about the beginning of the split when we were expectation setting? It was like Tenacity feels like he's going to be graded on a different curve than Busio because Tenacity just has felt more LCS ready for a long period of time, and people were just like, "Oh, he's in academy prison and all this stuff," right? So yeah. I mean, I think that's playing out for me. Like, I think I just keep expecting him to be able to do more than he really is. So, and something that came in through chat from Glenn the Poet, he says, one way to judge or one way to gauge their performance might be who are the other eligible rookies for rookie of the split. So if you run that list, because I don't think, like, technically, right, Prince and Vikla probably count, but yeah, we're not going to include them in that discussion. They're on another planet. This is Boogie's first split, right? For TSM. I don't think Diplex has done anything. Eminez, we'll have to see. Gory is probably a very good candidate. Gory has been really good in my opinion. Yeah. Who else? We're not going to count Piosik. Yeah. I'm looking at the list. Tomo's played before. Winsome's played before. Yeah, it's like I don't really know how many other people are on that list, but if you're going by like, the Boogie, Gory list, yeah, I mean even Diplex probably like had more attributable to himself than Tenacity did, and Diplex has been benched, right? So I don't think he stands up super well against the other rookies. There might be one or two others that I'm missing, so I apologize. But, there are some very viable new players in the league.
I think it'd be interesting as well to look at him compare. So I think of all those players you mentioned, he's the only top laner.
Yeah.
I would be interested to look at him compared to the other top, because I do think this is a meta that you're not seeing a ton of insane standout performances from top lane.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not watching a lot of these games, so it's possible that I'm way off base here. But as I even think about our games, like even the games we lose, like it's not because we're losing to a top laner who is just absolutely unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
Like, impacts Renekton 3-1 and 8. Like, okay,
yeah,
that's not a bad stat line, but it's no 14-0 and 1.
Yeah,
even the Summit Scion 2, 3, and 4. Like we saw what he did in the game that he played.
Right. Well, I can toss out some stats then if we want to do some comparisons. So, one thing to keep in mind: counter pick rate. So he gets counter picked 2/3 of the time, which is actually kind of surprising to me because it seems like we prioritize bot lane. So and that counter pick rate is good for third in the LCS. His KDA is fourth among top laners at 2.8, which is 1.1 behind the next one up. It's basically like they all scale up by 1 up to the top, which is fudge. Rip. Kill participation, he is second to last. Only Licorice is better than him, which that makes sense because doesn't it feel like he's always trailing and arriving late and all that stuff?
Wait, Licorice has a worse KP than him?
Yes, by 12.5%.
Weird. Given that Golden
Licorice is like always in a side lane though, if you think about it. Kill share, he is low middle. Death percentage, he's last actually. So 18.2%. Let's see. First bloods. He has not gotten a single first blood. So death percentage, it's share of team's death. So he has the least share of team's death out of anybody. So he's dying the least relative to his team. Which is good, I guess. Unless you're not participating in the fights, you know. Like I said, not a single first blood. He's the only person who doesn't have a first blood. He is second to last in gold differential at 10. I bet you'll never guess who's the last there.
Summit.
Nope. Summit is first in gold difference at 10. Last is Fudge. Fudge is minus 154 gold at 10. Summit also leads in experience at 10. Fudge is fourth somehow. Tenacity is third to last in experience at 10, so he's averaging down 145. CSD, he is low mid tier. He averages 1.3 less at 10 than his opponent. CS per minute is 7.9, which is basically tied for last place. Let's see, what else? Damage. Let's look at damage. He is third to last. 436. Damage percentage, he is very last. Average share of team's damage to champions post 15 minutes, he is dead last. Earn gold per minute, he is low middle. Gold right in the middle. Gold share, I'm sorry, of team's gold, he's right in the middle. So, you know, not too good. Yeah. Not too good. The highlights you can point to are reasonably good KDA and the lowest death share of his team, which we, you know, just eyeball test wise, it feels like he's not in those fights. And so those things might not actually be that good. And if you think about it, one of the things we talk about is that we feel like he has like a good lane feel, but his lane stats are actually pretty bad. So it ain't going so hot. Now, and this isn't me. I'm not, just to reiterate, I'm not a Tenacity hater. I like the guy. I am not calling for him to be benched or switched or anything like that. I want the rookies to get all the time to be able to build up. I'm just saying, I feel surprised. I thought he was going to be, this is a little bit like Fake God, right? Where it's like, it kind of felt like we were going to get more out of him once he got that LCS spot. And I don't know what happened. Maybe he wasn't like just up to the challenge or whatever, but he dropped out. And I hope Tenacity isn't on the same track. He's very young, but it's not going super well at the moment.
Yeah. I think that the thing that I put more weight on is just some of the, like, he could have number one across the board in stats and still make some of the plays that have gotten a lot of attention. And I'd say those are the things that we need to work on, right? Like, you could be crushing your lane, and if you're late to fights, doesn't really matter. You know? So, I mean, obviously it's not a bad thing to be crushing your lane, and that's, you know, if you can do that. But for me, that feels like the thing that we really need to get sorted out is just like how this team actually works together.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like you. I'm not at a point where I'd say, and I'm just not sure if we can do it. Like, I think we're still on the wait and see scale.
Yeah. Well, if we did it to Tenacity, it's only fair to do it to Busio. Do you want to share your thoughts about Busio before we do stats, or do you want to do stats first?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've talked a little bit. I feel like we've talked maybe more about Busio, but it does kind of feel like so much of how he fares in the LCS. I think this is true with supports in general, like a lot, is just where the meta goes. And you know, it's one thing if you've got an enchanter meta that you're really enjoying and is favorable to your champion pool, and then it switches, and what happens then? I mean, I do think there's certainly, I'm starting to put more weight on I think there's been a lot of focus, at least as we've talked about it, on his performance in lane. Just because that's been like when we've won, it's typically been through early leads for our bot lane that then get translated into and converted into a mid and late game dominance. I definitely want to see more from him when it comes to like team fight phase.
Yeah.
I think that's an area that I don't it's not even that I don't have a good feel. It's that I feel like there are ways that he's not contributing that the best supports are and do.
Yeah, I remember as like I made the point a couple times where it feels like he has one thing on his mind during the fights and he's not like managing the whole situation, which is probably to be expected at this point in his development, right? Just taking a look at some of the champions he's played, he's played 4 Lulu games, and he's won 3 out of those 4, the one being the FlyQuest game that we lost. He's on like funky picks, he played Azael, he's played Varus, and that's really it. Azael and Varus. He played Yuumi and won on the Brain Dead champ. His Varus game was a dub, by the way. It was Caitlyn Varus bot lane against Liquid. His Rakan game was pretty bad against FlyQuest in the first round robin. He lost a Karma game, he lost a Soraka game, and he lost a Nami game. So it doesn't seem like there's much of a consistent he wins on this type of champ. I know he's 3-1 on the Lulu, but he lost the Soraka game, he lost the Karma game, so I don't know. Looking at the stats for him, the most important one as far as supports are concerned, obviously from C9 we learned that that's CS per minute, and he is tied for last in CS per minute. So if this was Cloud9, he would have already been benched.
Get him out of there.
Yeah. I'm not going to pay attention to counter pick rate for support for reasons. KDA wise, he is 3rd to last. Though there is a cliff that drops off after him. So he's significantly ahead of the next 2. Kill participation, he is end of the mid tier. Deaths, second most after Winsome, which is surprising, right? I guess FlyQuest just no one dies. So since Winsome has died like 3 times all split, he's of course the death share leader. Busio has been a part of First Bloods a few times, so he's got 36% First Blood rate, which is 3rd. Not going to care about gold or experience diff at 10.
But cold.
Damage per minute, I know. 2nd. Good job. Wards per minute, he is actually 4th. I'm surprised. Doesn't seem like he does a whole lot of that, but right at 4th. I don't know what else to do stat-wise with the support. But
no, C9 isn't either. So
eyeball test for me, there's 2 things. One is, like I said, not being able to focus on the big picture of the team fight. He just seems to home in on one thing he's doing. If I'm peeling for double lift, or I'm just here to neutralize some sort of ability. And then the other thing is just positioning. He seems to get caught out of position quite often, whether it's in lane or while he's getting vision or something like that. So the thing about him, again, I don't think he's graded on the same curve as Tenacity because of how long people thought Tenacity was LCS ready. But a lot of people were super high on Busio and like, this guy has potential to be one of the best LCS players ever, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't.
What was that about?
We haven't seen the flash yet, like we have not seen. Usually when you get a player like that, you're going to have some moments where it's like, wow, this guy is different. Even if he's not overall doing very well in the beginning. We haven't had those moments. So to me, Busio seems like a normal rookie at this point. Just a normal rookie. Yeah. And I don't think that's problematic because he is with some veterans. I think he's in a healthy system. I don't think it's problematic that he's like that. But, it is what it is. We're going to get limited contribution from that, at least for a while, assuming we stick with the development project.
Yeah. I think it's fair to point out that for Tenacity, he actually has had some of those moments of those flashes of dominance.
I think Tenacity has had more of that to his game.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him do that for a game, but like as far as like individual moments, we've seen some pretty high skill moments or like in unusual plays.
Right.
Don't feel like we got that. The thing Busio is probably most memorable for this split is picking the Azael. And that didn't go well.
Put the Varus game above this.
Well, in terms of performance, yeah, but I'm saying what's most memorable. Like the Varus game was like his best game, but in terms of what's memorable,
unfortunately,
the Azael flop was probably pretty high up there.
Oh boy.
So rookie check-in is like not going so hot. It's I wouldn't say it's like bad. I just would say I feel like we're a little bit underneath what we were hoping to see from the guys. And that's not a panic alarm. That's just, hey, whatever. JC101, we can go into this because the next thing we are going to do is listener takes. JC101 had a take like this, so we can just go into it since he chatted. He said Busio gets known as a flashy Pike, Camille off-meta picks. Then they put him on enchanters nearly nonstop. His official take submission was Busio on Lulu duty for another weekend, and then like a meme expressing regret and horror. So he had the Azael game. That was his first game, so it's not totally fair to hold him to just that. Rakan is a playmaking support champ, and it went very poorly. The Varus off-meta pick, I don't even know how off-meta that was. Felt like everybody that week was picking like double marksman bot lane. For sure. But, he looked great on it, so kudos to him. I think JC has a point.
For sure. The thing I'll add is you typically... I feel like we've come up against this before. I can't remember exactly where, but let me know if you remember an example. It's like, hey, look, the level of competition is different. You're going to get dumpstered if you try to pull that against these players.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just and the staff doesn't have the confidence, the player doesn't have the confidence that this is going to go well, so we're not going to do that, and or like Lulu is just so strong right now, or the ADCs are just so strong right now that really what you need to do is just make sure that they can survive long enough to go 14-0 and 1.
Yeah.
But how are you thinking about that?
I'm thinking that part of becoming an LCS level support is learning to play the more standard support stuff. You can't always be in there playing goofy stuff. Like you just can't. You have to learn how to play like what standard support should be. And so I don't know. I wouldn't say it would be like a crutch to play him on the weird stuff, but it's like if your goal is to develop this guy, like he needs to develop that skill set. And I don't think that means what JC is saying is not valid, because clearly it's like, yeah, he's not playing what he looked fabulously entertaining playing. But you just can't do that all the time. You know what I mean? So
I like that. I mean, I think it's good to ask about that. Like keep that in mind. Because I do like Zillion, right? It's always a benefit as a player if you can force your enemies to commit one of 3 bans to something that you play, and doesn't matter where they're at in the meta. That's huge.
Yeah.
So I think long term, if we can get him back to the point where teams say we really don't want to play against Pike
or Yasuo,
or Yasuo, like so if we can force them to think twice about that, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like Viper's Riven was another one,
right?
Where
you always had to
every once in a while you pull it out, and I feel like he did that against us once, didn't he? Like we didn't ban it, and he made us pay.
Yeah.
So they can't be your game, but having that as a part of your game is huge. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see him continue to cultivate that.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't become a crutch, because then people talk about you like people talk about Ormo.
Ooh, yikes.
Right.
And so maybe it wasn't like a fair shot that he pulls out the Azir in his first LCS game ever against Cloud9, reigning champions Cloud9 in week 1, first game. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's not the most fair look at a carry champ. So maybe they'll do it again soon. Who knows?
Yeah.
So thanks JC101. The next one comes from our friend Prime, who said, did 100T's showcase bounce back resiliency late game or glaring weakness early game versus Team Liquid? I think that it's more I feel like it's neither, because I it's like, I don't feel like the early game went bad because of a particular weakness we had.
Mm-hmm.
I think it didn't go well for a couple of reasons, but I also I don't think it was that much of a resilience thing for us either. Like it didn't feel like, oh, just like we'll just grind it out and keep scaling or whatever.
Right.
It just felt like Team Liquid just isn't playing well.
Yeah.
And at some point, Victor's going to start slapping, and so is Zeri, So I don't really like either explanation of this. If I had to choose one, I guess I would probably lean towards the bad early game, maybe. I don't really know. I don't like either.
I would factor in the EG game where we did hang on by our fingernails so like I put that in the bounce back resiliency category.
Mm-hmm. Even though we lost that game. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we made it a game when it had no business being one.
Yeah, that one felt like a resiliency game. This one just didn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably there's a contributing factor there, which is that TL doesn't feel dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very surprising.
I know.
Mont asked, do you think our rookies are playing up to the level of our vets, meaning the vets aren't playing that well, or the vets are playing down to the level of our rookies? I'm beginning to see a trend of our vets, mainly closer and double lift in the past week or so, just keep getting caught and lose our team fights and objectives. So it seems like Mont suspects that it's veterans playing down. What do you think?
Yeah. So another way to think about this basically is saying, like if the vets can improve their performance, we actually have a higher ceiling.
I think that's what he's saying. It's like, whose fault is it that we're not doing so well?
For me, it feels like the latter, and in large
the latter
part,
meaning it's the vets
playing down.
And
in large part, it's because of closer. I can't imagine that he's a player who has passed his prime. That doesn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen what he can do. So to see him continuing to not, play as he has in the past does feel like we're still working to figure out how he can hit that level again.
I think like that felt more poignant to me earlier on in the split. Like I don't think he was that bad this weekend. And he's clearly still a huge IGL presence. And I don't know. Did you watch the comms video?
No, I didn't have a chance to.
Excuse me. He's very talkative and very aggressive. He keeps encouraging people, don't be scared. Don't be scared even if we lose a kill. Keep fighting. All this stuff. He wants to fight. So it's feeling to me like, I don't know, he's kind of on the up a bit. It does feel like if we don't get a double lift great game, it's near impossible for us to win. And I did expect more out of Bjergsen. Like I said, Bjergsen on the Victor was very good against Team Liquid, but other than that, I guess the Zillion game was insane.
Yep.
So I think that's two very strong performances, but I felt like he would be more of an X factor.
Bjergsen.
Yeah.
The Talia games, he's had a couple of good Talia games for sure.
Sure. I don't know. Am I just missing it? Because I just feel like, man, I expected him to just, boss some people around a little bit more. Even when he has a good game, it doesn't feel like he's like smashing his lane opponent. I don't think we've seen. He did get a solo kill actually on Vikla. But that was like in the top lane. I don't know. Like it just doesn't feel like we're getting as much out of him. Relating it back to the original question, I don't know. I think I'm still going to go with the rookies because Busio out of position has really, really been rough. And Tenacity late to stuff and disconnected in team fight approach has been really, really rough. We didn't really talk much about that. I actually intended on talking about team fights. I don't know what your take on this is, but I think it was it Azael who said that 100T's is just like a really bad team fighting team right now because front line and back line are not in sync whatsoever. And I can't refute that criticism.
No. Mm-mm.
It's like
especially
they are always too far apart. And so even if they want to do the same thing, they're not in position to do the same thing. And I can't refute that criticism. So, and a lot of that seems like Tenacity to me.
Well, even you think about some of the pop-off games we've had from Double Lift. We talked about this last week, maybe, but like the Caitlyn game. I mean, it's easy to forget that Caitlyn Quadra started with Tenacity inting into the Rift Herald. You know, like another example of us just not like great that we won the fight, but we didn't make it easy on ourselves, nor did we execute it cleanly. You know.
Yeah, and there've been several plays that like we get like a very favorable kill trade in a fight, and it's like because Double Lift just like kamikazed, right? Like he just went in, died, maybe he stopwatched for a few seconds. It's like he like goes in, stopwatches, so the team is forced to go in and like surround him and try and protect him, even though it's not going to work, and then they like clean up like 2 kills, maybe 3 as a result. So it's kind of like Double F's going in is like forcing them to make that happen. But yeah, it just seems like we're so out of sync, front line to back line.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to again going back to Bjergsen and Talia, like there were definitely games where we've had what felt like really clean team fighting. You know, if you look at our wins, there's examples of it. And I think there are moments where it feels like we're using all the pieces in the right way. But it's certainly not consistent.
I bet if we went back and we looked at how the team fights play out and we like the 5v5s and we focus on Busio and Tenacity, we would probably find a lot of answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know there you see plays from like Closer Bjergsen in the mid lane. Like we're usually good for a mid lane kill. You know, in the early game, like the very clean dive against Vikla.
Yeah.
That was excellent. We're usually good for 1 or 2 of those. And it's just like the 5v5 picture is just, it's just rough.
Yep.
We have one more take that we'll go through. This is from Sen, the ever optimistic Sen, who says, chalk this split, regain for summer, and get to Worlds, which easier said than done, but sure. Says also other orgs are promoting NACL players to the main roster. C9, some other org I forgot. Do we do that for Double Lift? And he says, will be quite a challenge because I don't think Double Lift would play in NACL. I think a top 10 of all-time player at NACL is not a good look either. So 2 parts of the take. Let's talk about the second part first. Do we promote Unforgiven up to the main roster? I think Double Lift has been our like main threat. And I would never do that. So Sen must not really see this the way that we are. But I feel like Double Lift is like our chance at winning games.
I mean, I'm guessing the angle here is in the games we lose. It might be unfair to say, I don't mean this literally, but like we lose through bot lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we've been focused down. We've been it's kind of live or die through bot. And so I could see if people were to say a different caliber player maybe could do more in these kinds of scenarios where they're getting a lot of attention and focus. It's kind of like maybe there's a someday-esque person to put in these situations where they can get more favorable trades, they can absorb pressure better, like some of these things. I don't personally hold that view, but I could see it if it were to be kind of put out there by somebody.
Sense clarifying in chat that he thinks most of the mistakes when we lose in the mid game, he says he thought it was double lift overstepping and making mistakes. I mean, undeniably we've seen that. It's like there's
the suicide play.
Yeah, the suicide play. Sometimes it helps us in a weird way, but we've definitely seen where he's just feeling himself too much and he gets immediately blown up. We saw that against against Team Liquid this week. We saw that a couple weeks ago as well. Just like, yeah, that is certainly something that happens. But late game, he's been so vital to what we do. I just don't see us really doing anything there. For from the stats angle again, since I have Oracle's Elixir still up, his kill participation is second overall at 73.7% among ADCs. And
yeah.
I think that says a lot. Like, we really need him to be killing people.
Right. I think another important thing for the staff to evaluate is what is he bringing to Busio so far as development goes. Like, I think they're, if you are liking that partnership, there's value there, even if it feels like, in absolute terms, is Unforgiven better? You could even think that he is, but the stability, the kind of the veteran presence, like maybe those are all things that you also factor in and say, middle of the end of the split is not the time to make a change.
Yeah. Just a few more things from the stats perspective. He's a positive player in golden experience and CS at 10. Like, top 3, I think, in all 3 of those categories. Top 3, actually tied for second overall for CS in general across the whole game. DPM, he is 4 DPM behind Prince at the top, and there's 100 to Berserker, who's next. Barely second in damage percentage of the team. Earned gold, he's right in the middle.
That's pretty wild, given that a lot of losing games, that he's still able to maintain a high DPM like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's pretty critical. Now, I do think DPM kind of gets skewed because we play longer games. Like, Prince is playing shorter games than we are. So that may not be as close of a comparison as possible. But the fact is, he's up there. And I just would not do any of this. Dragon Revel, I don't know if you saw my response in Twitch chat, but if you want to post a question in chat really quickly, we can get it in. We'll talk about predictions for... Oh, wait, well, I'm sorry. I didn't answer the second part of... Or actually, the first of 2 parts. Sen's take. Who said, chalk this split, regain for summer, and get to Worlds. Is this split over, Jordan? Is this the rest of the split meaningless?
No, not at all. I mean, I think there's still a chance that we get decent seeding in playoffs. And, every game counts for rookies, especially. Like, less vital to me that we get a lot of good stage time for Bjergsen. I don't think that's going to make or break anything. But, I think there's still a lot to play for this split for sure. And ideally, you can run this roster back in summer. And I think the best chance to have at that is to continue to develop them in the games we've got left, and then hopefully with a deep playoff run.
I think like, I don't think this is an anyone can win split. This is basically FlyQuest. I think they've got this already won. But I think it's wide open other than that. Deep playoff runs can be really beneficial. And it's like, here are the other teams in play. Team Liquid, TSM, CLG, Golden Guardians, who may be a problem, 7 in a row, right? Evil Geniuses, and Cloud9. So there is room to go far in the playoffs, in my opinion. in that experience, that like you play a lot more games if you get a bunch of best of fives. So I don't think we should chalk the split. Also, you said 4-14 trust. We've already won 5 games. So
boom.
Unless we get disqualified for wearing white Crocs or whatever, we're gonna finish above 4-14. So I'm not gonna trust you on that one. Dragon Revel, by the way, he said, I think Double Lift is the best performer on the team. I think Bjergsen and Closer need to step up, and Tenacity and Busio just need more stage time. So this kind of goes along with the Mont's question about, who's kind of at fault more here. It seems like he's wanting more out of Bjergsen and Closer. I think that's fair. Tenacity and Busio for sure need more stage time, but that's still going to be liabilities in the meantime.
Yeah, I think in general I agree that breakdown of where our players currently stand.
Yeah. So we'll see if we get more of that. I think Closer is going to come online a bit more in the coming weeks. So
yeah,
I hope
so.
Okay, we have 2 games starting tomorrow. We play C9 tomorrow, who are second at 8-3. They went 1-1 last week, losing to Golden Guardians, the old Jard, and winning against TSM. How do you see us faring in that game?
Ooh, C9.
Remember, we played them in the first game of the split, and they smashed us. They bone crushed us.
It was kind of the fudge factor.
Yeah.
I really want to predict a win here. I really do. I am going to predict a win. And I'm going to predict it on the back of an actual double lift pop-off again. I think he's going to get another pop-off game.
Nice. Yeah. I really want to predict a win too, but I won't.
There you go. Yep. That's
C9's 8-3, man.
Yeah, they're good.
They did lose to Golden Guardians, but
they're also good.
7 in a row for them. So
I think Tenacity can hold his own against Fudge. And remember, he almost did take out the Giga busted Cassante.
That game could have been way different if that first 1v1 went the other way, and it was like a hair away from going the other way. So you're right.
5 HP. And I think if we play what we're more comfortable with now in the bot lane, if we can get that for our bot lane, it's not as ear, and I think it looks better. So I think there's a chance.
Yeah. Well, good for you for having faith. I'm going to predict the loss though.
Okay.
They just look like they're going to be in 4 more. So hopefully, well, not hopefully. I don't want to pray on anyone's downfall other than like Fudge. But hopefully, like for us, Eminus can be exploited like in some way by Bjergsen. I think that's our way in. But I still think they're going to win the game. Game 2 against CLG, who beat us earlier on in the split. They are in 5th at 6-5. They won both their games last week, one against TSM. Remember, Solo's on that team. And one against Immortals.
Oh, 0-2 weekend for TSM, rough. Look, I made a big deal about talking about how we beat this team. We're big brother. We've had their number, et cetera, et cetera. They beat us. I'm not ready to predict that they are going to be our new Dignitas. I refuse to predict that way. So I have to go for a win. I don't feel very confident in that, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
So their only like win against a high ranked opponent is against EG in the second game of the split. They beat us, they beat Team Liquid, they beat Dignitas, and then they beat TSM Immortals. They haven't stolen games off of high level competition, and I think they were the first win for Golden Guardians on this streak. I am just not expecting much out of them, so I think we're gonna win that game.
Nice.
So I think we go 1-1. And you're predicting a 2-0. How many 2-0s has Jordan predicted?
Almost all, except for last week, the 0-2. More importantly, Cole, we've covered the spread. We are going to get at least one correct prediction.
Yes.
Between the two of us, which really is what I'm here for.
Covering our aggregate booty cheeks.
That's right. Yep.
All right. Well, we don't have to wait long to find out what our predictions
end up being.
Tune in tomorrow. We're going to do, by the way, so Rec League tomorrow night is just going to be like a little DMZ stream. If you're interested in playing in that, let us know. Me and Jordan will be playing, and we've got 1 or 2 people that will be rotating in. If you want to be part of that, send me a DM. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of a chill stream. I don't really have time to organize the normal Rec League structure this week, so I apologize. But we'll get back to that shortly. Otherwise, enjoy the games. We don't need to talk much about Valorant. That was rough. And yeah, we'll just hope LCS can bounce back and give us something to be happy about this weekend.
And so concludes our Valorant coverage for the first tournament of the year.
I will say I did watch a great deal of it.
Yeah, I did too. And I still love to watch Valorant. It is still a high quality esports product.
Jordan, Fast Peak last week starts now. Man, we need to warm up one more map every match, don't we? Just one more warm up map. We'll be good. End of show. We fast pot last watt.
That's right. It's done. Oh, man.
All right, guys.
When do we get to play again? Like 6 months from now?
Yeah, I think that's the normal VCT structure.
Perfect. Good.
All right, let's get out of here. Everybody, I apologize. I've been sick. Can't keep going. We love you so much, and we miss you already.